Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to our intermission interview. Today, we're going to be interviewing GabeJamesGames about his class modifier module. You can find Gabe all over Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch, pretty much everywhere as GabeJamesGames, or also on the Mythic Grove channel, which you run, right, Gabe? Yeah, you run that channel, yeah, and all sorts of other places, and I can see you're working on some pretty interesting stuff behind the scenes as well. Superhuman stuff, Goblin dating sim.
Yeah, I got a lot.
That is an interview for another time, but there's a lot of exciting things coming from here. In fact, if any of you are like me in chat right now, there might have been like a period of your life when Gabe wasn't on like your TL or anything, and then suddenly Gabe explodes everywhere. Amazing content being put out all the time.
Yeah,
it's wonderful to have you here.
Fast. Came like a storm.
Gabe, tell us about what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, so the class modifier module is an alternative for character creation in 5e, where instead of using the racial ability bonuses that you gain from there, it is based on the class itself. If you are someone who has trained as a paladin, you maybe spent more time on your strength for physical fighting, or you have spent time being a charismatic person, being more of a leader, embracing the magic that you've taken on as a paladin. I wanted to make it so that it was less about the 5e race that you picked and more about the class that you picked, because I also wanted the evened out that the gnome who has spent so much time learning to be a wizard would reasonably be smarter than the elf barbarian who hits things extremely hard. I didn't want it to be like exactly the same.
Totally makes sense as well. Like it, yeah. Like it just when you talk about it that way. I mean, I'm a person who likes to build characters which aren't optimized. You know what I mean? And like sometimes it seems silly when you consider what you're doing, looking at the racial bonuses compared to what class you're going to take. Like
yeah.
You know, if you are into min-maxing, which you can do, you know. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the class modifier module. Chat, we are going to be open to questions. If you put your questions in chat over there, over wherever you keep chat, really.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever you keep your chat. If you precede it with the word question, I'll know to copy and paste it, and we'll make some time to ask them at the end. But I do have some questions prepared. So like, so let's talk the min-max talk for a minute. With the racial modifiers being scrapped and moving the attributes to the class modifiers, we know that there are people, literal wizards behind the scenes who spend a lot of time like balancing these things and making sure that things are balanced, like races are balanced against classes and all that sort of thing. How do you think this will affect the balance?
I think if people want to min-max, I think it can actually work in their favor. If someone wants to make someone that's actively stronger, if it's a melee class, it's built for that. I put in options for strength in the fighter, in the paladin, in the barbarian, thinking that they might want to be stronger. But I also considered people who want to use finesse weapons, or specifically just to increase their AC, which is dexterity. So you'll see dexterity in a lot of them as well. If someone wants to focus on being a sorcerer spellcaster, that's why I specifically made charisma one of the 3 options inside of that. So if you want to min-max, it is there for you, and it'll make it probably easier, but specifically if you want to min-max in that type of class. If you want to just make a character who's extremely good at strength and is also like a sorcerer, the nice thing is it's built so you can have options. You don't have to spend the steps to put points in sorcerer. You can just roll or do the standard array or however else like you create your character, and then you just have options for where the extra points are going to go.
Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, it's an easy sell for me. I guess this enables people as well to like, that classic thing. I want to be a half elf, but I want to be a barbarian, so I don't want to, maybe I should be a half orc instead. Yeah. I guess it frees things up a little bit, so you can actually play the class you want to play.
And part of the reason I did that is because when you're looking at character race and character class, very often people will go back and forth because it's like, well, this one gets this bonuses, so I should pick this class, or this one gets this bonuses, so I should pick this class. I wanted you to have to stop flipping. Pick the one you want because of the abilities you want, and then pick the class you want, and then you'll get bonuses related to that class. So if you're trying to min-max it, it's right there for you. You don't have to keep going back and forth to pick what you look like to define who you are going to be.
Yeah. And what was your inspiration for doing this? Like, what motivated you? Was there anyone that you were specifically building this for, or?
I wanted to make an elf barbarian, and I was like, I want them to be strong as hell. I don't need trance. I don't need charisma. I don't need intelligence. I just want to hit things hard as hell. If he's smart, awesome. But that's not what I want. Or the person who's like, a gnome barbarian shouldn't have the strength of, shut up. This is a fantasy world where a giant jug can make mayonnaise. My gnome barbarian can be strong.
I love that.
And that has been an argument that I've used. I've had someone tell me specifically, it's weird for a gnome barbarian to have that much strength. And I'm like, there's literally a jug that can make gallons of mayonnaise, and you're bothered that the gnome barbarian has a +2 to strength.
I mean, when you put it in perspective like that, it makes it seem kind of trivial, I guess, you know?
Yeah. They didn't reply.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. How can you argue with that, you know? And how's the document been received so far? You know, you made it free, right? Am I right thinking it's free? You can get a link.
It is free. It is a pay what you want download. Half of the proceeds go to Rachel at Talioneer, because I got a hold of Rachel and was like, I wanted to get art together for this. She let me use some of her amazing art. So in doing so, I just told her I was going to give her half of the proceeds, because it's a free what you want. It's a free pay what you want kind of thing. Yes. And it's been fantastically well received. I did not expect it. I was like, this is something cool. I think other people might like it. If you want to try something like that, here, do it. You could even do it for like NPCs if you wanted to. It's just to give people more options. And I think as of just a week ago, there has been 6,842 downloads.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like bestseller numbers, but it could be.
It has made, I'm not going to give a final number, but I have been able to pay Rachel over $1,000 because of this, like pay what you want thing, which also shows that people will want to support you if they appreciate what you're doing. Because the thing was put up for free, but people decided they wanted to give something for it. Or if someone downloaded it, liked it, they could go back and then give something to support to make more things and make new things. And it was a great feeling, because it was never my intention to make a bunch of money off of it. But yeah. I've been able to pay back what I spent into it. And it's the best feeling.
Isn't it just the most rewarding thing when
it really is?
People, so like as a streamer, I can definitely relate to this. No one has to pay to be here, you know. No. But when you do stuff and people repay you, it just feels amazing. It feels amazing.
Yeah,
and thank you very
much.
It's
surreal.
Thank you very much, Blue Box Pirate, for putting the link to your itch in chat there. I appreciate you, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah. So and let's talk about the artwork for a minute, because did you commission the artwork? Which one came first, the artwork or the module?
So, technically the artwork. Because Rachel drew the barbarian for me, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's dope as hell. And then I was like, I want to make him. How do I want to make him? And then I started coming up with the ideas. I came up with an idea for the barbarian and the bard and also the sorcerer. And I was like, all right, this is interesting. And the other interesting thing is, when I initially put it up, I was doing them, and I even talked to you about it, I was doing them in spurts. I didn't have everything done when I put it up. I had about, I think 4 of the classes. And that was another reason I wanted it to be a pay what you want, because it wasn't done. I didn't want people to feel like they had to pay for a full project when I'm still putting it out there. But I put out the first 4, And just the first 4 alone, it was like a huge reaction. I'm like, I guess I do need to like sit and just finish this. And as I was like getting more and more, I'm like, hey Rachel, got any more of that artwork that I can pay you for?
Got any more of that?
She's like, let me look through my archives. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. And some of it was artwork from other campaigns that people had played. So I actually got in contact with the people who had those characters. Like, is this something that I have permission to use? Because Rachel made it and we wanted to make sure it was okay with you before anything goes into this. And then you feel uncomfortable because it is your character still at the end of the day. And I think there was like 3 or 4 characters that were originally other people's that they gave me permission to use in this. And that was also like letting someone else use your character for something, even if it seems small, is a big deal because it's like them giving you permission to use a piece of themselves.
Yeah, they put effort into that. They made that.
Yes.
You know? Like,
yes.
Just because I'll shut out a character in 5 minutes, that's just me. There, people put care and attention into this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm aware that it happens at least. But talking of like different characters and things, like you as well as art and stuff, you do cosplay, right? I've seen you cosplaying all over the Twitter.
Yeah.
Has that come into play while you were like developing? Is there any ties here, or is that just another cool thing about Gabe?
Kind of. The the vampire character, like the elf barbarian vampire kind of character, was originally a cosplay that I did. I was like, I want to make a new character that's cool. So I did a cosplay of the character, and then I actually sent that to Rachel as reference images, which is how she drew the picture.
That's all. That's how it works.
Because I was like, how do I make them look like what I want? I'll just make it me. That works. And that's that. I've actually been doing that a lot more now. I didn't used to cosplay as many original characters. I was like, I'll cosplay popular stuff because then people will think I'm cool. And then like about a year ago, I was like, I just want to wear whatever I want and then play that person. And I've been doing that a lot more often. So I'll like cosplay a character, and then if I ever get art of it, I'll like have that on the stream or something. And then it's just like looking at the picture that they drew and the picture of me, and it's like that's so strange. That's just my face, but artwork, and they look dope. And I was just drinking apple juice when I took that picture, but it's still amazing.
I saw one just the other day. You reposted a sketch of you as a vampire. That was amazing.
I love that picture so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And another notable one has got to be the Kylo cosplay. I mean, that's a popular one.
that is like one of my pride and joys, because I bought a pair of leather pants, and I just looked in the mirror and I was like, I kind of have abs, and then I was like just gesturing, and when I did the like hunch thing, I'm like, oh my god, I'm Kylo Ren.
So yeah, but like even like, do you think this would so we all play a lot of like homebrew things or even expansions for D&D. Do you think this would fit well into those sort of things as well? So for example, if I was playing one of our sponsors expansions, for example, Mage Hand Press Dark Matter, and I wanted to build Kylo in Dark Matter, because that game, you can find like any sci-fi fandom you want in that book. How would you stat out Kylo, do you reckon?
I'd say that could absolutely work. And in the module, I try to outline the process that I had. I went with 3 different stats anytime you picked a class, because 3 just felt like a good number of variation. You could have a +2 in a stat and then a +1 or a +1 across the board. So if we wanted Kylo Ren, and as weird as it is to say, Kylo Ren is charismatic because he's terrifying. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily strong, but he does have like a dexterous sense to him. He has style, he has grace, he can parry things, he can dodge things. And so if there was literally just a class that involved, actually that might work for like something like Warlock. And I think Warlock does have dex and charisma.
Yeah, perhaps conjured weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Shadow Blade, that's like literally the Force, just color it red.
Right there. And invocations. Like you could brand that Eldritch Blast is literally like a Force push.
Oh, That'd be amazing.
And I'm almost positive, if I might be wrong, but there's always ways that you could get like lightning bolt with some sort of feat or even just an ability. Like it's
Isn't Eldritch Blast force damage anyway? Isn't it like
yes,
literally
it
written into
is.
the thing? Like
Yes, it is.
like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
too easy. Should have come up with a harder question. This is too easy.
I live for this. I live for this. This is how I started thinking of how to make animorphs. I made an animorph druid subclass that I haven't posted yet, but I'm going to. Like this is what I do for fun.
Yeah, I can tell. It's amazing, and it's so well thought out as well. Because I have got the book. We have been flicking through it. In fact, we can't talk about it yet, but we're planning on doing a campaign with it at some point. But the problem with that campaign originally was the setting that we were going to go in, and I realized I'm skirting around things not to release here. But like, the problem with that campaign was that the setting wouldn't allow for much diversity of race whatsoever, and it would have sort of kind of felt like we were all playing the same character, I think, without this sort of diversity brought in class, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to sit down and do something that's similar to it, but specifically for NPC kind of classes, like the artist or the blacksmith, just so that if you want them to be a little different, it's easy to do it. You can have a little background for them like that, and just probably smaller snippets than I did for the classes, but more options.
Yeah. Like civilian stats or for players?
Yep.
Civilian stats.
Civilians.
Yeah. Oh,
yep.
That's gonna be a real labor of love, I bet.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time. I'm gonna post that one when I'm maybe like a third of the way done, rather than having like 4 things done, because I'm like, I gotta finish the thing.
That's how things work these days, though, right? I mean, like, when was the last time you saw something, except for maybe in the movie business, where people didn't Kickstart or Patreon it on the way it builds up? I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'll support that.
It really does work well, and again, it's the passion thing. If people see you working hard and actively trying to do something, people will often support you, and it's not necessarily easier, but I'd say it almost works better sometimes, garnishing support as you're working through it. So people can see how much you've done, and people see the dedication that you have to it. But then B, if people see you working on it continuously, more and more people will see it. It won't be a surge of people from the initial impact. It will be more of an uphill incline of people like, oh yeah, they're working on this thing. Let me like talk to someone about it. Or like when I was working on the CMM, I had a couple people be like, hey, there was something going around a week ago, and then last week too. It was about like the classes. Does anyone know where it was? And I was getting like tagged and stuff of that because people were seeing it incrementally.
Yeah, and I guess it avoids the problem as well that like a lot of things used to have, you know, back in the day when like a game would be released and it'd need, you know, tons of test playing and stuff, and then everyone would be excited for the next game, but you only had that one hit of excitement. And then we went to another stage where the internet came in, where it was, well, we have one release, but then things get patched, and all that meant was things got released too early and fixed. Whereas this way, you're not waiting for DLC or expansions, you're just, you know, you've got plenty of releases and like, oh, this bit's finished. I've been really hyped about this, and it's all within the plan. No one's creating too much content. Do you know what I mean? When something gets popular and you're like, there's nothing left, but we'll keep doing it.
It makes a world of a difference. I even had a feedback form in the class modifier module, and people were filling it out, whether it was, I really liked this thing, or like this wording might have been a little off for me. And it's one of those things where sometimes people just want to complain, but 90% of the comments like directly in it were people who were sincerely curious, or it was something that they thought just could have been reworded better. And oftentimes I'm like, you know what? I like that. You're right. I know that I can't do these things alone, and I'm genuinely appreciative of when people are actively trying to help, because even if I don't use the change that they were suggesting, it's something else that I can think of if I do something else related to it. It's like, all right, well, I did it this way. Maybe I should do it this way this time.
Yeah. And how was it? I mean, because you published it and then you went on Twitter. How was the Twitter reception? I mean, because I know Twitter's usually, you know, a hellscape. But sometimes beautiful things are allowed to shine on that website.
Twitter was good for the most part. I did have a surge of people who either just wanted to complain or didn't like change. And for context, my father is a lawyer and has taught me very much about conversation that actually has value to it. So if someone wasn't initially just being obnoxious, I tried to have a conversation. And if they chose to be obnoxious, I would just say, either it was free, so you didn't lose anything. I don't work for Wizards of the Coast, so it doesn't matter. Or I'll give you your money back. Tell me what your name was. And I did have one person who was like, I spent money on this. And I asked, how much did you spend? And I went and found them, and they spent 50 cents. And I said, do you want your 50 cents back? And they said no.
I mean, what more can you do? I love that you went to the effort of doing that. Like,
yeah. I was like, I'll give you your 50 cents back. What's your PayPal? I don't actually want it. Oh, then goodbye.
What's the point of this?
I think people often want to complain, but I don't think people will often experience someone that actively wants to see them happy or satisfied, which is understandable because most of the time I want to just leave it alone. But if someone has an actual complaint, I want to hear why, because I'd rather someone can enjoy something I made than feel like they have to argue against it. And if they actively just don't want to like it, I will always feel better when I take the high road. But I'll feel even better when I take the high road and then they realize they're being stupid and just stop trying.
Or even better, the full turnaround. You know, when you take that high road and then they sort of go, ah, damn it. Yeah, no, I was being a dick. You know, because you see it. It happens every now and again. Sorry, I was being a dick. You're right. You know, like.
And I did get a couple of those. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy this thing.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I think it's such a great contribution, honestly. I can't wait to, like, I haven't actually used it yet. But I can't wait until we get going on that project and start building with it. I'm really looking forward to it. We do have one question from chat so far. Chat, this is going to be we've got about maybe 5 to 8 minutes here where we can take some questions. So if you want to get any questions in for Gabe, mostly about the module, but if you want to ask about anything else, while we've got Gabe here, you know, this is a chance. Feel free to get those into chat. So our question is, I've forgotten who posted it now. I didn't post their username, but I did copy their question. Does this mean I can build a bodybuilder strength kobold?
You absolutely better believe it does. Absolutely. Yeah. Do it. Do it. I made a goblin paladin who is beefy as hell, and it's so good.
Yeah. So do you, as well as the attributes, do you get rid of the like class things as well, like where gnomes and goblins can't carry large weapons like mauls and things?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
I don't care. This is one of the most important rules in Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion, is that it literally says in the book the end result of whether you follow the rules or not is like up to the people playing the game. They wrote a system of rules that you can use. No one is ever, if someone tries to make you play a certain way, find someone else to play with. That's the beauty of this game.
It really is. And I think, yeah, and I guess easier and easier and easier these days as well. Like, you know, we put a lot of effort into trying to make space for people, but there's also Roll20 and things. And I think it's so much better now that the internet has been able to bring people together to be able to go, well, I don't have to go to the only game store in town to play D&D. I can go online and play with someone else who will let me play the online.
And I've even seen people who are making their own game systems consider using this kind of build for it. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Do it. Rock out. Let me see a link so I can buy it after it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like you'd be able to like people using it on like official things as well. I mean,
I had someone ask if like they wanted to build their own original game system and they wanted to reference this as an inspiration for it, and I'm like, absolutely,
yeah,
do it, rock out. I can't wait to see what you make.
So we haven't had any questions come in. Skull Self mentions that their staff are looking at using it on their server,
yes.
And in their home campaign.
That's awesome.
Now I foolishly didn't copy your itch when it was posted. Thank you, Blue Box. I'll go and grab it again. But let's post that now. And is itch the only place people can find it?
Right now, yes. I put it on itch just because it was easy to do the pay what you want stuff, and then I could trick people into downloading the free demo for my Goblin Dating Simulator at the same time.
Do we want to have a quick sideline onto that? Because that is some real clickbait right there, you know? Like, Goblin Dating Simulator, I'm so into it. Like, Sexy Goblin has been...
Hidden Treasures is a tabletop role-playing game inspired dating sim where you have the different stats of strength, intelligence, charisma, and I think dexterity. And essentially the way the game works is it rolls a digital 1d20 and then it adds your ability bonus to the roll to determine if something is a pass or a failure. There are 8 different main characters that you can date. In between dates, there will be random downtime events involving if you go to the lake, it will generate a number between 1 and whatever number I pick, and then it'll pick a random event for that location so that pretty much everyone will have a different experience going through. And or if you go to the same place multiple times, it should be different unless you did something that triggered a specific event, like the necromancer pig or something like that. Every one of the goblins is based off of a different fantasy class. There is an artificer, a barbarian, a rogue assassin, a sorcerer, a wizard. The sorcerer and wizard are actually twins and own a library bookstore. The sorcerer is named Oscar, who is named after the orc from Critical Role's Tusk Love, because I asked Matt Mercer if I could use that as a reference for permission, and he said yes. So Tusk Love is also canonically in my game's world, and I wrote like a 4-page excerpt that people can read. The game is estimated to be out around November. At the end of this month, the demo will actually change, so I recommend that you download it now, because what I've been doing is every now and then I'll put up a new demo and delete the old one. The old one involved going on dates with Oscar. This current one will involve going on a date with Creve, who is the Goblin Barbarian. Whew.
Oh my goodness. That sounds so hype. I mean, it almost sells itself. Like, I've seen people in chat just Goblin Dating Simulator ? There. But we have had a couple of other questions as well about the module, if we can back to that quickly. So We Are Nerdsmith asks, do you feel that this is a step towards the removal of race completely?
I think maybe. I think it'll lean towards a step of like ancestry. Like if you have Orcus ancestry, Goblin ancestry, and like someone even said to me, does like human even matter? And I'm like, it's a fantasy world, add whatever you want. So I think it'll lead us more towards ancestry or just origins rather than focusing on race, because race is a weird, technically kind of archaic term for this anyways.
Yeah.
But I do think it will step towards removing that, because all it does is give us a different visual appeal and then certain abilities. But beyond that, there's no real intrinsic value unless you want to talk about roleplay purposes. But roleplay purposes are entirely up to us to decide. All Dungeons and Dragons did was give us tools that we could use, but oftentimes, especially in home games, people don't even use the same lore. They create their entire own for like orcs, goblins, elves, humans, and such, because they want to create their own cultures for it.
Oh yeah, we all ignore rules all the time as well. We all have homebrew things that we ignore. For example, I can't remember the last time anyone asked me about if I had the statistics to multi-class. You know, or rolling a nat 20 outside of combat doesn't work. We all have our own custom rules, you know, and this is beautiful. Got some other questions here as well. Sphinx is asking how you would stat out a charismatic monk within the module. Would you consider options for it?
I don't think I'd put stuff for the monk having charisma right in it. I think that charisma would be whatever like highest stat you had. That would, if it was standard array, you would pick the highest stat. If it was rolling, you would pick the highest roll for it, because then you can compensate other things like dexterity or wisdom that are involved in the monk class, so that you don't feel like you have to put the higher values of that. If you had a 16 to put inside of charisma, then you wanted to build up your wisdom still, you could put the 14 in wisdom and then take the 2 points that could go into wisdom, so you have 2 16s. That way it can balance out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good.
Yeah, so there's another question about your pants. Do we want to dive into that one, or did you see that one?
They
Have you got chat up?
so comfortable.
Oh my goodness. They look incredible.
My amazing hair and pants. They are incredibly comfortable. I went outside, had a whole photo shoot. I danced. It was so satisfying. I took like 30 pictures of myself jumping in the air and trying to time it, and most of them look like not bad, but not good.
Gabe, you're so full of good energy. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this. You know, thank you for this like module, and thank you for all, like I say, if you're not following Gabe on Twitter, let's change that right now. I'm gonna do a quick follow check. I want you all to click on this link, and if you're not already following, if it doesn't already have the blue filled out on follow, just go and change that. Just go and change that, and then hit the notification bell as well, because every time Gabe posts, it is honestly a light in your timeline.
I'm trying to be happier, because I realized for a really long time I wasn't creating things because I didn't feel like I was good enough to create things, and then I wasn't happy because I didn't feel like I had enough done to be happy. And at some point I realized, who cares? If I want to do it, I should just do it. I should just try it. If I fail, if I enjoy doing it, it doesn't matter if I succeeded. But then I started failing, and then it worked well, and then I started succeeding, and I'm like, it's working well. And then I've just been happier I've been happier just trying, is the best way to say it.
It's honestly, I feel it. I feel the energy. It's amazing. Yep, y'all. So go and follow James. Go and follow Gabe. I caught in the middle name there. Go and follow Gabe. Go and follow him on Itch as well. There's a follow feature on Itch, right? When you release new things. Yeah, follow him on Itch. See all the latest things. And y'all, thank you so much. Thank you for your questions, Gabe. Thank you for this interview. I'm gonna go and set up the next stream. We have 2 more shows today.
You are a busy fae.
I love to be a busy guy.
I said fae.
I meant to say fae, but then I got stuck on guy, and I'm still trying to get guy out of my vocabulary, so it just ended up being gay, and then I didn't change it. I just went with it. The attribution license for our tranquil background music is above our heads if you like it. And y'all, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Catch you later, everyone.